Could we be on the brink of a global trade war? A question that's been echoing in the chambers of international commerce. The world watches with bated breath as tensions escalate between economic giants, with the stakes higher than ever before. Trade wars are not just about economics. They shape our lives in ways we may not even realize. And the key to deciphering this complex puzzle? The answer could lie in understanding the tariff plans initiated by former US President Donald Trump. Trump's tariff plans, a topic of heated debate, had a significant impact on global trade dynamics. To comprehend this, we first need to understand what tariffs are. Essentially, tariffs are taxes levied on imported goods, and they serve as a tool for regulating international trade. Now, let's delve into Trump's specific tariff plans. During his tenure, Trump imposed tariffs on a variety of goods from numerous countries. The most notable of these were China, Mexico, and the European Union. The goods targeted range from steel and aluminum to a broad spectrum of consumer goods. The reasons behind these plans were manifold. Trump's administration claimed that these tariffs were necessary to protect American industries from foreign competition. They argued that countries like China were dumping low-cost goods into the US, thereby hurting domestic manufacturers. Another stated goal was to reduce the US trade deficit. The deficit, which is the difference between what the US imports and what it exports, had been a consistent concern. The administration believed that by imposing tariffs, they could encourage domestic production and reduce reliance on imports. However, these tariff plans weren't just about economics. They were also part of a broader strategic shift towards a more assertive, America First trade policy. But what were the consequences of these plans? And how did they contribute to the fear of a global trade war? The ripple effects of Trump's tariff plans were felt far and wide. These plans, aimed primarily at China and other major trading partners, were not met with folded arms. The immediate impact was a sharp dip in the financial markets, reflecting the unease of investors worldwide. Economies of the targeted countries took significant hits as well. China, for example, faced a slowdown in growth, while Canada and Mexico, also on the receiving end of these tariffs, experienced similar economic tremors. But the US was not left unscathed. American businesses that relied on imported goods such as steel and aluminum were suddenly thrown into a state of uncertainty. Costs soared, profits dwindled, and some companies were even forced to lay off employees. American farmers, too, found themselves in the crosshairs as countries like China responded with their own set of retaliatory tariffs, targeting US agricultural products. And then the backlash began. The targeted countries, unwilling to bear the brunt of these tariffs without a fight, retaliated. China slapped tariffs on American goods, Europe targeted American iconic brands, and Canada and Mexico imposed their own set of tariffs on a range of US products. Economists and trade experts watched these developments with growing concern. The tit-for-tat tariffs, they warned, had the potential to escalate into a full-blown trade war, a scenario that could destabilize the global economy. The World Trade Organization, a body that promotes and regulates international trade, expressed its own concerns about the growing trade tensions. Yet, despite the warnings, the tariffs remained in place, each side seemingly unwilling to back down. The standoff has left businesses, consumers, and economies in a state of flux, with no clear end in sight. In the end, the question remains, are we headed for a global trade war? So, we've explored Trump's tariff plans and their potential implications. We delved into the nitty-gritty of these trade policies, how they aim to protect local industries by imposing taxes on imported goods. We've seen how these tariffs are a double-edged sword, potentially strengthening domestic industries, but also risking retaliation from other nations. We discussed the impacts of these tariffs, such as the potential for increased prices for consumers and disruptions in international trade relations. We also examined the reactions from around the globe, ranging from retaliatory tariffs to calls for negotiations. The ripple effects of these policies are vast and complex, touching every corner of the global economy. Whether or not we are headed for a global trade war is a question only time will answer. But one thing is clear: the decisions made by world leaders today will shape the global economy of tomorrow. Stay tuned for more updates on this unfolding story.